Well, now I want to turn to a very special guest, Pete Steinmetz. And Pete and I talked a while back, and he said, I've done a clinic on glue. And I said, well, I've heard a lot of people talk about different glues. I'd love to see you do that kind of a clinic on our show. Well, tonight, Pete's going to do that on our show. So, Pete, welcome. Thank you so much.
So here I am sitting outside. I want to be able to show you the glue that I've got. Gary, what kind of glue do you use on your kit that you're building? What brand?
I think it was Faller Expert.
Yep.
Oh, awesome. My man.
Hard to get that stuff.
It is.
It is Faller Expert.
Here's
Yep.
the expert. Here's
Yes.
the super expert.
Oh boy.
I first got these and I just tried them on a whim. I was in Germany, and I go to this shop in Berlin when I go over there, and I just grabbed them, brought them home, tried them out. They were great. I really liked them. That's pretty much my go-to for styrene glues. One of the reasons I like them is they're not all runny like the Tamiya. This stuff's like liquid. It'll go everywhere. You got to really watch it or you'll end up with a mess. This is the ammo of MIG. Primarily, they make a lot of stuff that's designed for the military modelers. However, they just came out with a line of paint designed for railroad. MIG is a closet model railroader, but a big time tank guy. Good stuff. I'm going to get some of it and probably do some type of article or review of it. I don't know if you guys know this. A Microscale makes something called micro liquid tape. And this is real interesting because it's not real sticky. Like if you want to just put a screw somewhere to just hold it up while you screw it in, this is the stuff, because it's definitely not permanent. I find that I use it a lot because a lot of the gluing I do does not need to be permanent. I'm just holding something or I just want some quickie sticky thing that I don't want to be permanent. I want to be able to take it off, maybe gluing containers together on top of an intermodal, that kind of thing. If you guys have questions or comments, please, this is an interactive clinic. I first did this at an NMRA meet to see how it would go, and it went very well. People had a lot of opinions on glues. I mean, a lot of us have been doing it since we were kids and using tubes of testers and, getting high in our basement and not really realizing it. Then they changed the formula. One of the things that I found that I really like a lot, and this is my go-to glue, is the Formula 560. I don't know if you guys use this. It's a white glue. They call it canopy glue. One of the really, really nice features of it is it dries clear. So you can put it on something, and if there's a tad spillage or whatever, it just dries clear and it disappears. You cannot put stain over the top of it. It will not take the stain. So I recommend you do all your staining before you use this, but this glues pretty much anything I want. There's a couple of different brands. That was the Pacer brand. There's a Zap brand that I just got. Supposedly same formula. It seems to be, I've only had it for a couple of weeks, but it's good stuff. I highly recommend, if you get nothing out of this whole clinic, get a Formula 560, and it's pretty available anywhere they have like airplanes or tanks or stuff like that. A lot of the train stores, they're strictly train stores, don't have it. Here's another one that I found. Some model railroader turned me onto. It's called Crafter's Pick. Michaels has it. Hobby Lobby has it. It's reasonably inexpensive. I think this whole bottle was like $5.99, but it lasts a long time, and it's really good stuff. They say it's like super glue, only in a white glue format, and it really will glue stuff together pretty permanently. I use it a lot, and I'm not a big fan of super glue, and I'll get to that in a minute. But this stuff is good stuff. In fact, my bottle is kind of drying out on me a little bit before I've even gotten close to it. What I use to apply it, I just go by round toothpicks. I use these things I use them a lot. I use them for that. I use them for all kinds of things. And they come in real handy. They're cheap. You just throw them away when you're done. Me being a frugal model railroader, I kind of keep them going as long as I can, over and over again before I chuck them in the trash. But I'm sure none of you guys are frugal. You probably just all use them once. Zap. I bet everybody's got some Zap or some super glue or crazy glue or whatever they have around. I'm not a big fan of super glue. I just have had problems with it. The real thin stuff has a tendency to run. The thick stuff, I mean, it's pretty good. What I find though is I go buy a nice bottle of super glue and pretty soon I come back and it's a rock. Even if I put it in my refrigerator, it still doesn't last that long. So what I did, you can buy these little tubes. So I don't mind popping a little tube open. And if I use it a couple of times and it goes bad, that's okay. I'm just throwing away a small amount. What I really found as far as the super glue is this Loctite super glue, Home Depot special. It works really well. The thing I like about it is the applicator is good, and it doesn't it seals it enough that it doesn't dry out. You squeeze it, a little bit comes out. You just squeeze the sides, take the top off. I'm not dropping it on my Apple computer, but you can see this, and you just squeeze it, and it comes right out. You could do a bead of it very nicely, and good stuff. It's lasted me a long time, which I like, because I use all kinds of different glues on different jobs.
Pete,
Yes.
what I have found is, I don't know whether your wife has these glass canning jars that have the rubber rings and the clamp on the top.
Yep. I have them. I'm the cooker in our family, and I have ball jars.
I save the silica things in my medicine.
Yep.
And throw them in that jar, and it dries out any kind of moisture, and it keeps the CA longer.
That's a great idea. I like that. I will do that because I do some canning and pickling and stuff. So I definitely have those ball jars, and I've got silica, and I can get some more. I think I once bought some on Amazon. Do you guys ever use wire glue? It's kind of
Never heard of it.
okay. So wire glue, one of the things I got in one of the train clubs that I belong to, the North County Model Railroad Society up in Oceanside, they had block signals, and they wanted the front of the train always showed up in the sensors, but the back never showed up. So they wanted to put resistor wheels on the back of the train, so we knew when there was something occupying the block besides the engine. And I got some of this, and it's okay. It's not a good glue. It doesn't really hold things that well. It's conductive, which is the strength of it. It is conductive. I usually glue a resistor to the wheel with some other glue, and then use the wire glue just to make the connection between the resistor and the axle and the wheel. I just put a little dab on it, and it works great for that. As far as holding the resistor on, no, sorry, not going to happen. But I do a lot of, I think I've done close to 200 of those resistors on wheels for club members. Wood glue, you always use the Formula 560, but I found this one is a pretty good one. The Elmer's Wood Glue Max. They make a bunch of different versions of their wood glue, from their white glue to their school glue to, the kind that the kids in kindergarten like to eat. Anyway, they make a lot of different ones. This one works pretty good. I've had no problems with it whatsoever. There's all kinds of wood glue out there. So my thing is I just stain everything first, and I don't have to worry about it. Let's see, what else do we have here? Wellbond is like an epoxy kind of glue, and it works really well. I don't use it a lot because as you can see, I've got a whole bunch of different kinds of glues to choose from. But if I'm gluing like metal parts, I'll look at Wellbond more than Formula 560. But anyway, or Crafter's Pick. Says wood, tile, glass, leather. I mean, it works really well, and it doesn't dry out very much. So I've had this for a while, and it's still good. And then the old Zap. This is 15-minute epoxy. I'm a little slow, so I don't like the 5-minute stuff, but part A, part B, mix them together in equal amounts, stir them up a little bit with a toothpick, and off you go. It's pretty good stuff. I'm seeing if this stuff, no, it's not dried out. It's just hard to move, but good stuff. And that's pretty much my the glues that I use. And so I'll take questions, comments. What do you guys use? What do you found that you just can't live without?
If you could put up that Loctite one again, the blue handle one, the Loctite.
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, it's Loctite. It's
Yeah. So yeah, when you're done with it, if the glue's all done, you take the holder apart. It makes a perfect brush holder.
oh yeah, I guess it would.
Yeah,
Yeah,
works perfectly.
yeah.
I also found that when you take it apart is that you get more glue out of the one that's inside of it.
Well,
Yeah.
that's
Get it all up.
Yeah, I'm sure there's still more left in there. I like it because I haven't had it dry out on me like the other ones do, but and it works good for applications where you would use thick super glue.
The Loctite super glue seals really well. That little top
Yeah,
clamps
that's
down
the
and
thing.
actually
It seals
prevents it.
real well.
So make a point of putting the top on securely. What's inside, what people don't realize, is it's just a flexible little squeeze tube inside in neat packaging that pinches the little tube.
Yeah.
So that's why you can tear it apart when you're done and get more glue out of the little tube. But I like it. And then the other thing I put in the comments is I found that I can get it at the dollar store cheaper than any place else.
Oh,
That often it's significantly cheaper than wherever else you find it. The Hobby Lobby or one of the hardware stores, the dollar store has it, and I use lots of it, so it's a good source.
cool. Thank you.
Suggestion for product to try with your glues, look into Bob Smith Industries.
Yep.
The Accelerator Instaset for your CA glues plus Bob Smith Industries has, I believe, 8 or 10 different grades of CA glues, some that are compatible with styrofoam and everything else. That's exclusively what I use anymore.
They do, and
And-
they're good. In our shop, I didn't see it on sale at the shop that I bought this at, or I haven't actually seen it for a while.
There's Justin's Displays online is a distributor for it and always has it at a really good price.
Oh, okay.
You can also buy
Um,
it you can buy it on Amazon, and you can buy it in like 8-ounce jars or bottles for the price of 2 3/4-ounce bottles.
Wow.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I
Uh,
get 8-ounce bottles and I don't use a sprayer. I use a syringe and a hypodermic needle that's been blunted. So then you can put the accelerator exactly where you want it on the CA glue instead of wasting it.
So I
Great idea.
find goo is very valuable for doing things like gluing speakers into locomotives and that kind of thing. That old Walther's goo is a good standby. And then Martin had this idea of combining a little goo with a little ACC to create something to glue parts on. I find that works really well.
Really? Have to try
Yeah,
that.
it's an interesting kind of thing to do. The other thing is I've pretty much done what you've done, which is I tend to do all the wall weathering and coloring off before assembly, and then assemble it with canopy glue. And the thought process is twofold. One is that way it goes together. I think the canopy glue holds better than like white glue or some of those things. It doesn't move around very well. It dries clear. But the other thing that's interesting in canopy glue is if you put it on a part and let it sit for 5 minutes, it starts to congeal, and then you can put the parts together and they'll hold together right away. And so kind of like letting canopy glue preset a little bit before you put the parts together makes it really easy.
I use Walther's goo for gluing weights. I do a lot of properly weighting cars, because most of the cars you buy, if you buy ready to run, they're not weighted correctly. So it works great for weights, and it works great for a lot of other things. However, I built a Walther's kit back when they had those stamped metal sides back when I was a kid. I put it together with goo and airbrushed it and did all kinds of stuff for it. And it was really a nice car. And a couple of years ago, I opened it up and it was back to being a kit because all of the goo had dried out and fell apart. And that was that.
But wait, that's a feature. Build it again. It gives you
exactly. You get to build the same kit twice.
Kit's so nice, you had to build it twice.
Well, I figure at my age, I'm not going to have to worry about what I glue now falling apart. I won't be around to see it.
Hey,
I'm not
Pete,
worried about that.
a glue that I've found, and I use it a lot, is E6000.
Yes.
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of work by like adding small parts to things that I've printed, like stirrups to sides of box cars. And if you buy the big tubes of E6000, it's kind of tough to control it. But I found at Walmart, they sell the E6000s and maybe about 4 little applicator nozzles.
Oh,
You could squirt out just a little drop. And the nice thing is unlike a lot of the CA that I've used, where you actually have to hold it in place, this stuff grabs really quick. And once
Really?
it dries, it really does a nice job. Now, the other benefit to it is that once it does dry, if you have to take something apart, you can. Take a little bit of effort, but you can get it apart. So a friend of mine, Kevin Hunter, who's been on the show before to talk about touch toggles, he introduced me to E6000. And like I said, I use it all over the place.
cool. Good to know.
Mhm.
Who else?
One other glue that I found my wife put me onto, it was Eileen's tacky glue.
Yep.
Rather than using the yellow carpenter's glue, you use Eileen's tacky glue on wood because it gets tacky more quickly. But until it hardens, if you've made a mistake, you can take it apart, you can clean it off. If a little bit squeezes out, it's very easy to clean up.
It is.
But I like the fact that it sets fairly quickly, and you're building a wooden kit. You can kind of keep moving along. You don't have to spend long periods of time waiting for sections to dry. I do pause occasionally and let everything alone for a while to set. But I find that it sets much more quickly and gets tacky much more quickly than carpenter's glue.
I used Eileen's to lay cork roadbed and then track on top of it, and it worked great. And if you ever need it to come up, you can just get it wet and it'll come up again. Like if you made a mistake on your track work or anything, which is nice. Without being wet, it won't come up. It's permanent. Who else?
Hi,
Oh
Pete,
boy,
Pete, it's Clark.
well, you got a clock.
How are you, Pete?
Good.
One of the things that I like to use is this for ACC. If we're talking ACC, I just came in on it, so I'm not sure exactly what you guys are talking about.
Sure, go for it,
But
Clark.
these little, you can buy them from the tool man, but you can make your own. These little applicators, it's probably a dentist tool of some type, but it's just a small little hole here, and you dip that into your ACC accelerator, and all you have to do is touch it to the part, and that will come out via capillary action, and you can it'll instantly glue your piece. And if that clogs up, you just take a lighter to it and blow it out. But
Micromark makes one of those
so
for
they
I don't know,
You
$20.
can-
I don't know what it is.
yeah, well, I got those. I was getting those off the tool man at the convention. So
Oh, cool.
and they were like, you get 3 tools for $10 or something. So
Right. Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what those are, Clark? And Pete, is a sewing needle stuck in the end of a
Yeah,
paintbrush hole.
that's hold on, please hold. I can show you the
It's
how
a
I make
heavy
my own.
duty sewing
Yeah,
needle.
well, basically, I have a little clinic here where I make my own. I don't have it on this photo. Yeah, basically, it's just that's exactly what you're doing. You take a large sewing needle and you take a piece of wooden dowel and stick the needle in fairly far into it, and then you can just use that loop.
Yeah.
I found another super glue online from Amazon. I asked them to find one from industrial use, and they sent me one. It's called Aero Core. It's made in Canada, and that stuff is strong. I tell you, when you
Really?
put it on, bang, it's done.
That didn't know that. I have to look.
Yep.
I'm one of those guys. If I see a new glue, a lot of times I'll just have to try it out. It's just how I got onto the faller, which I think more people would use it if it was more available over here.
Yeah, I use the faller all the time for plastics and stuff. Now they have just come out. I don't know, Pete, if you know this, they just came out with a one for laser kits.
Oh, really?
Yes.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, this is the plastic one. Now this is the expert, and then the next one is the they have what they call the super, which is an orange one, and that really is just a little bit faster than this plastic one.
Is that what the difference is? It's just speed.
It's just
setting?
speed, yeah.
Okay.
And the other thing is when you're building DPM kits, Miles Hale put me onto this stuff for DPM kits because DPM kits are not really a true plastic. They're kind of a hybrid, and they're not a resin kit either. And this is really the glue to use for any DPM kit, period, bar none. And it will glue those things together, and you won't have any problems with getting them apart. Let's see. Yeah, here's my. So yeah, I use these for doing DPM kits. And if you don't know Miles Hale, Miles used to work for Woodland Scenics, who owns DPM, and he also used to work for the actual gentleman who designed these kits. So he does know what he's talking about.
Oh, this is great stuff. I really like it. It's my go-to. Yeah. It doesn't sit in a drawer. It sits right on my workbench. Yeah. But it's hard to find around here.
If they're a Walther's dealer, you can get it. When I used to go to Train Fest, when they were holding Train Fest, I used to go to Walther's Direct, and I used to buy like 5 of those tubes at a time of each, the super and the regular. But I've got so many now, I will never have to buy another one.
Huh.
But
I don't dry out.
No, and I also go ahead, Pete.
Oh, they don't dry out.
No.
I've had it for quite a while.
But Clark, you brought up something I think that we should not gloss over, which is almost all the hobby shops get a shipment once every week or once every couple of weeks from Walther's.
Yeah.
And all of them, if you call them and say, I want these 3 bottles of paint and these 3 glues, they will order them and put them on the next order, which means you don't have to pay any shipping and you get a trip to the hobby shop to pick it up.
Yep.
So, I think it's a really good way of getting that stuff is just call your hobby shop and say, hey, I'd like to add these items on your next Walther's order, and they'll do it for you, and you can go pick them up. And supports the local hobby shop, and I think saves you money.
Clark mentioned the fact that he uses a piece of wire to clear out the Fowler spout. I've had a lot of problems with that, and I found that a single strand of number 18 gauge stranded wire is the size that I have to use to clear that spout out in the tube. So that's an easy solution to doing that.
You know what else works really well is a Bic lighter. And just when you get it a little bit heated, just squeeze it a little bit.
Yep.
And that's it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
You
mute
ever try to
my.
get the top off those Fowler bottles?
Oh,
Oh.
they're like welded on. You're not gonna do it. You're not gonna do it.
Nope.
I tried once myself.
I used pliers and vice grips and everything else, and it
No.
wouldn't come off.
No, they're welded on those suckers.
Yeah.
But yeah, try the laser glue. I've really enjoyed using it lately. I personally I think it's just canopy glue, but but it comes in the same applicator.
I didn't know that Walters had Fowler. That's really good information because I do exactly that. I order stuff from my local hobby shop, and
Yeah.
they call me and go pick it up.
Yeah. No, Walters has it in stock 99% of the time.
Good. Okay.
Actually, they've got all three. They have the laser kit glue too.
Oh, great. Great to know. That I won't have to bring any back from Germany. Who else?
Yep.
Anybody else have some ideas of what they use?
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm in Australia. One of the Loctite products is a two-part super glue for plastics. It comes in two parts. There is a primer, and then there's the actual glue. Now, this is one of the few things that I've found that will stick acetyl to styrene. The bond is strong if you try and tear it off against the bond. It does not survive sideways impacts real well, but I suspect that's the case with most super glues. It's just the nature of the bond. So if you try a straight pull on it, yep, you won't shift it. If you hit it with a hammer sideways, yep, you're going to tear the bond.
Huh. That makes sense.
But it's one of the few things I've found that will actually stick stuff to acetyl and similar slippery plastics.
That's good to know.
And with that, I'm going back to lurk mode.
Hey, John, I did hear that we lost a fantastic guy in Australia. I was notified when John Saxon passed away, and very sad to hear that.
I wanted to note that last time I was in Rome, that was last summer, I stopped by a hobby shop, and I guess Ravel, however you pronounce it, they also sell their glue, which is very similar to Fowler's Expert.
Yeah, they've got a line of glue and paint. I don't think it's really well distributed over here, but it certainly is in Europe. Who else? Anybody else?
I do a lot of styrene and different plastics building, and I found that there are a full line of adhesives that you can purchase specifically for that are more industrial if you use a lot of it.
Okay.
I buy it by the pint.
Wow.
I'll go through a pint of styrene glue a year, but I'm currently working on a 2-foot, basically a 2-foot square structure with a full interior that's 100% styrene. So
Is it a derivative like of MEK, or is it something different?
I can't remember off the top of my head what the company is. I don't have it in front of me, but I will try to share it at during one of the Zoom meetings at some later time. But it's specifically like if you get an acrylic display case built, there's stuff that's specifically for acrylics, stuff specifically for polystyrene. There's stuff that I'm assuming it's probably the same as the Fowler's for the laser cut kits. Chemical composition of it that'll let you use the polystyrene and the polyacrylic type plastics and be able to glue them together with a weld bond and whatnot. But yeah, I go through a lot of that. Different materials. If I was near my bench, I'd be able to tell you what brand it was and whatnot, but it's something to look into. And then you get a refillable applicator bottle that reminds me a lot of the Fowler bottles, but you can unscrew the lid to put whatever adhesive you happen to want to put in it.
Yeah, you can buy those little bottles on through Amazon for like $8 for like 30 of them.
Okay.
I use them all the time. I put white glue, or not. I don't like white glue. I use either yellow glue or not a big white glue person.
Do you use
Learn a lot
the
about glue.
canopy glue?
I use canopy glue, yeah, but I don't use anything like Elmer's or anything like that.
Yeah.
And for glue and track, I use water soluble contact cement. I can put track down really fast and it pops up. You don't have to worry about damaging your track either. Guys at our club were in a tizzy when I said we're going to use this, and they said no. I said, okay, let me show you, and I showed it to them, and they're like, okay. So that was the end of that. That's all we did is use contact cement.
Well, it's pretty forgiving if you make a mistake.
Yeah.
You know, wet it. Hopefully.
Well, the contact cement, all you have to do is put like a butter knife underneath it and it'll just pop right off, and it cleans up from the back of you don't use a lot. I mean, a lot of people think you have to put down so much track or glue for track. You're not fighting, you're only fighting the flex of the flex track. You're not fighting you're not fighting for a locomotive that's going to knock it around or anything. And then once you ballast it, it's not going anywhere.
I think I've got a pretty unusual solution for gluing down track. I don't remember where I heard about it, but I use DAP Alex indoor caulk.
Yeah.
It remains flexible.
Yeah.
It dries clear, and you can take up your track if you want to realign it. It will peel up and come off of the track with no damage to the track, so you can reuse it.
Yep. It's the same as this contact cement. The nice thing about the contact cement, you don't have to wait. Like you just keep going. There's none of this drying. I mean, I can only, literally 50, 60, 75 feet in minutes because I dry fit it all and make sure it's perfect. And then I come back and start gluing, and man, it's just so much faster.
Something's happened to our guest, our host, Jim.
Oh.
He's not on.
I see his picture.
I see him.
Oh, well.
Jim's there.
You're having a lot of troubles there.
I guess so, I don't see him.
It's a Canadian thing.
Yeah.
Must be.
It was on earlier.
With the exchange rate, you only get so many Americans.
That's right, man. There he is, and bright sunshine.
Anyway,
You're awful quiet, Jim. We couldn't hear you.
Pete, you really stimulated a great discussion tonight on glue. I can't thank you enough for doing it.
Certainly.
Pete's going to be back the end of this month with another segment that I think will stimulate more discussion on paintbrushes and what to use where and how.
I was just going to say that.
So thank you so much for doing this. I really do appreciate
it. Thanks, guys. I appreciate I'm going to hang out for a while, and thanks so much for having me. This is always a fun discussion. Paintbrushes will be a fun discussion. Anyway, thank you so much.
I had no idea there were that many glues out there.
There's a lot more than even this.
I understand.
Nobody ever once mentioned testers.
I got
Oh,
some.
yeah,
It works
well, yeah, we could have done that, or,
Or Ambroy, do they still make glue?
You know,
They
the
do.
nitrocellulose is not made anymore. That's my favorite glue. They don't make it anymore.